You'll know when you have a wild woman. She'll practice her craft without boundaries. She is truly autonomous.
Her loyalty is only to the family she serves, a midwife who will not allow herself to be held back by a system she didn't create.
This podcast is for the birth keepers who want to grow and change. We are open to learning through self-reflection and supportive community. We are creating this space to explore without judgment. We are remembering we were
born wild. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Born Wild podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Sophia. And today we have with us Sarah, who's going to share her 3 birth stories. Sarah, can you introduce us to yourself and your family?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Sarah Arimura. I have 3 little ones. I have a 5-year-old, a 2-year-old, and now an almost 5-month year old. And my husband, and we live in the North Bay in Marin.
With a lot of chickens.
Yeah, with a lot of chickens. Actually,
Yeah.
we have since we've seen you last, we've added 13 more. So yeah, so right now we have about 20 plus total. Yeah.
Every time I pulled up, it was always like the chicken welcome committee.
Yes, the chickens are everywhere. We did corral them into a little fence,
Okay.
but they escape. So they're still always about 3 or 4 out.
Nice. Yeah. Well, start us on your journey. And for some, that's when they found out they were pregnant. For others, they knew they always wanted to be a mom. Like, where does your mothering journey start?
That's a great question. I guess, once we were married for a few years, we kind of decided like it was time to, start trying to have a family. And so that happened, I guess, really when I got pregnant with Astra. It didn't take that long. And when I got pregnant with her, I just realized, oh, wow, like this is real. I'm pregnant. And I didn't really know anything about it. And so at that time, you start digging into all the pregnancy stuff and, the birth world um, and, you start talking to your mom more about like her birth and other women about their births. And so it kind of, it's just like a whole new world. It's just like something you don't know until you're in it. And then once you're in it and then you get your own story. And so that was kind of the beginning of mine. And with Astrid, I can go into more detail about kind of, how she was born.
How was her pregnancy? Like, how was the pregnancy with her? Was it pretty smooth? Were there any like steps?
Yes. No, I would say with Astrid's pregnancy, I mean, honestly, compared to, I know people have real harder, high risk stuff. And she was truly it was really easy. I mean, minus the first, I had morning sickness, and it was pretty bad. I was throwing up every day, more towards the evening. And it was just kind of towards the end of the day for almost like 3 months, just that first trimester, even a little bit into the second trimester. But it really is like the princess pregnancy. Like I know I've heard you say, looking back, it was, I could sleep when I wanted. I could go to the gym when I wanted. Chad and I would take like evening walks.
Isn't it amazing?
It was just
to say, I grew up every day for almost 4 months and it was the best pregnancy.
Yeah, exactly. Because it was at the same time, it really was a really special pregnancy. Like I could really focus in on, the baby and how she's growing and what's going on. And I actually enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy not feeling well, but I did really enjoy once I felt like beyond that morning sickness, I really started enjoying the pregnancy. And everything went really smooth. Everyone fills you and they're like, oh, it's going to be a small baby. And I will say at the very end, I did go in for a few extra checks to make sure, I had enough amniotic fluid and make sure she wasn't like she was growing and everything. They were just like, oh, she's just going to be small. And of course she was born and she was like a little like over 6, almost 7 pounds. So everything was great. I mean, she was a healthy, perfect baby.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was kind of the pregnancy journey. Everything went really smooth. Like I said, besides, those kicks, towards the end, I was like, am I feeling that kick count? And it's your first pregnancy and you don't really no. And so I think that I kind of got a little worried with that. And so that's kind of why I went in for a few extra things towards the end. But everything was great. I will say with Astrid, you can ask me any questions, but I'll add on. It was kind of when I started digging into like the birth world and, Western medicine versus more functional, or just the two different options. And I really wanted to do a home birth. Like I really, really wanted to actually with her, but I was definitely scared and a little nervous. I knew I wanted to go, with no medication and, natural. I feel really blessed and lucky because my mom went down that route. And so I had a lot of encouragement of like, you can do it, your body can do it, you can do it. And my grandma was the same. And so I felt really like surrounded by, women that were very encouraging and and so I knew I could do it. I just didn't know exactly how to do it. And so I thought I found the best of both worlds with going to a midwife in the hospital.
And the thing that scared you was like the pain aspect or the safety aspect? Like what part were you scared of?
Yeah, I think it was just the safety aspect of it, it's just like the hospitals, we're told the hospitals where you give birth, the hospitals where you give birth. And even for my mom, she had totally natural births, but even home birth, even though it's very encouraging for all that, even home birth was still new to her, you know what I mean? And so I guess, so taking that route a little further, even than like, my mom and her mother, I was just like, oh, this is totally new, open water.
Yeah.
And what does that look like?
It's always the idea of what if something goes wrong?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it's the what ifs. And those what ifs can get you sometimes. And that was for my case with Astrid, it was the what ifs, like what if something happens? And I think that fear kind of took over. And so so I feel like I did the best of both worlds at that time for the information I had. With my first pregnancy, I did the midwife program at the hospital. And so that's what I did with Astrid.
To her labor, like how did it begin? What did her whole birth look like?
Yes. Yeah. So to backtrack just a little bit, I also hired a midwife, but I was more hiring her as a doula because I was like, I'm going to do a pregnancy. I'm going to have her at the hospital because I'm too scared to have her at home. I'm a chicken. But I want to labor at home as long as possible. And so in my head, I was like, the perfect world. Well, I'll have this midwife. She can check me. She can be there. And she can tell me, you're as far as long as you can go. Let's move to the hospital. Right. But she was like, when I hired her, she's like, Sarah, I have this one weekend. I'm out of town. And we're like, what are the chances of those 2 days I go into birth? Right. Of course I know now that those will be the days. And so of course that weekend I went into labor and I had Astrid that day. She wasn't there. And in the end, I think it was kind of a blessing because I didn't know what I was doing. I stayed in denial. If you can hear Astrid, I stayed in denial, crazy long and barely made it to the hospital. And so, but the birth all went really, really well. And
for anyone listening who likes the idea of that, a midwife who can like support you at home and then go to the hospital, it's called a mentorice. And so that's what you're looking for. If you're like, ooh, I like the idea of that.
Yes. Yeah.
Specific service that not all midwives do, but
got it. Okay. Yeah. That was kind of what I had in my head. And of course it didn't work out. She had a doula on hand for that weekend that ended up meeting us at the hospital. And I was thankful for her actually. She'd helped me during some shakes and stuff. But so yeah.
Beautiful. Well, take us to the birthday. You just barely made it there. And how long were you there for? And
so we driving in the car, contracting the whole way. We went to on the totally opposite side of the city. We were in San Francisco at the time. And we went there, and of course, they want to like triage you and check you out, and everything definitely slowed down a bit. My birth slowed down, but I was like, Astrid's birth, I was very quiet. I was just breathing in my head the entire time. And so when I got there, they really didn't think I was like that far in labor. And so I was just staying quiet. Of course, they're asking questions, and Chad was being really great. And And so I was in that room for at least 30 minutes before anyone even came in. And then by then, one of the midwives came in and checked me, and I think I was like 9 centimeters. And they were like, "Oh, wow." Like, and so then they still started getting really on it, got me in a room quickly, wanted to put all the IVs in. And so all that is just your typical hospital stuff. And looking back, at the time, I was not enjoying it even at the time. I was like, please leave me alone. But even looking back after I had her, there was a few things I went, oh, like, yeah, that was a hospital birth. Even as smooth as it went, I still had some of those hiccups. And so yeah, so then we went into the room. I just pretty much sat on the toilet. It was just the comfortable spot. They wanted to move me. You want to get in the shower? They started it for me. And I just was like, no, I'm sitting on this toilet. But eventually they're like, her heart rate is, like dropping a little bit, the position I was probably sitting in. So they moved me to the bed. And then I got on my knees and leaned over like the bed, the back of the bed. And I pretty much stayed in that position and then pushed her. So I think she came like an hour, no, maybe about 2 hours after I got to the hospital, because about an hour kind of slowed down and then it picked up. And so within 2 hours, she was born.
Pretty fast.
And
Well, how long
I,
was your whole labor?
That's a good question. I don't even know. I mean, I think really it started like picking, sorry if you can hear Asher. It started picking up, I mean, maybe about 6 p.m. and then had her around 4 a.m. The next morning.
Mm-hmm.
So relatively quick, but
Yeah.
But yeah.
For first, yeah, that's good.
Yeah. And the only other I would add in like hiccup that I realized later with, working with you and Leah was when I was having Astrid, my water had not broke yet. And so the midwife actually broke my water before I started pushing, or maybe mid push in one of my pushes, she broke it. And then I had Astrid. And later, a day, maybe it was in that next day I had her, she kind of like was gargling up stuff and almost like choked. And maybe that was some stuff. I just don't know exactly. I'd never had that with the other two. And so that was a fear that I gained from that experience, seeing like my little new baby, like almost choking. And the nurses came in and just patted her, and but at this, like a new mom, I just like was really scary.
Yeah. Well, that
And
is something
so,
that's really common the first couple days, regardless of who broke
oh, okay.
or whether they, didn't break at all. They just are really like fluidy, and they kind of like will clear things. Not all babies, but a lot of times when you're at home, your baby's always in your arms, and at the hospital, a lot of times they're in that little cradle or whatever. So we're always like, when they're like skin to skin and chest to chest with you, they can clear it on their own a lot better than they can, on their back.
Yes.
So
that makes sense than laying flat. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So that was scary. And I didn't fully know that. So I think going into my next birth, I like had that was like one of my fears about like, well, what if I'm home and nobody's here and that happens? And then Leah like helped me talk through that. And then I was like, okay, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
What about that was.
What about the placenta? Was that like pretty smooth, like immediate postpartum? Any issues with bleeding or anything about breastfeeding?
Yeah, good question. The placenta, I think it took a little bit of time. I stayed in that room and eventually pushed it out. But no like extra bleeding or no, worries. They showed it to me. It was really cool to see and went over all the parts. But other than that, no, nothing stands out. Just her kind of like just that spitting up part, extra fluids. But other than that, everything was great. Looking back, I got home and I rested, but I probably needed to rest a lot more for her postpartum. Living in the city, I was like, got out and started walking probably way too soon. Thought it was, good to get outside and get a little walk and push a stroller and walk down, a flight of steps because we lived upstairs. Like all those things. Looking back and later in my other pregnancies, I did less and less of that. But postpartum, yeah, with her.
What about breastfeeding? Any like struggles there?
Yes. I mean, I was able to get her to latch and she was gaining weight. Like everything was great, but I did get, and I feel like this is probably just pretty normal. But I did get really bad scabbing on both both boobs. And maybe it's not totally normal, but you know, I didn't know fully what I was doing. I was just learning as I was going.
Normal versus
within
common. It's really common.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And so that happened. And that was very painful because it was both boobs and you just have to nurse through it. And I just remember, yeah, just like getting her on there and just holding my breath. And then eventually just started slowly getting a little better and a little better. And then eventually it was gone and then nursing, no issues with that. So yes,
And then
that
did
was
you
her.
guys always want to have another child, or how did the next
Yes.
pregnancy come to be?
Yeah. I think once I had Astrid, I think, you know, I like prayed and prayed for a little girl. And and I was like, oh, okay, we'll be set. But then I think once we had her, it was like, I think we want a sibling for her, you know, like another child. And so right about Astrid was 2, I think we started trying. And then not long after, maybe 6 months, we got pregnant with our next one, Asa. And so then yeah, and then it ended up being a boy. And so which was also exciting. And yeah.
And how was that pregnancy? And how did you come to explore home birth finally?
Yes. Yes. So with Ace's pregnancy, I wrapped back around to the home birth process. And that pregnancy was, you know, the same. I had that morning sickness in the beginning. And then everything else kind of goes relatively smoothly from there. I think, you know, you get the back pains and like, you know, I had a lot of, you know, pelvic floor heaviness and stuff like that. But no, nothing like high risk. No like major issues. I don't know if it's typical. I just call it the typical stuff, but just like the aches and pains with that pregnancy and that morning sickness in the beginning. Which thankfully passes. And then I got to enjoy his pregnancy a little bit more. I feel like I didn't fully start enjoying that. I mean, you're so much more tired. I guess that's part of it too, because just you can't nap when you want to nap anymore. Like I had, you know, the 2-year-old and going back, I'm like trying to put myself back in that place. The nap, you just nap less, you sleep less, you feel more tired.
There's nothing
But
like that first pregnancy.
yes, yes, yeah. I got to sleep. I got to sleep in. I mean, yeah. And so with Astrid, yeah, it was much different. Sophia, do you mind if I pause and go take
Oh yeah, go
Asher
ahead.
to my mom? Okay, just really quick. I feel
So then I know you had a home birth with Asa. At what point did you decide? Did you like first start with the hospital system and then switch over to home birth, or from the get-go was it home birth?
yes.
And
So
why did you feel like it was safe enough?
yeah, good question. So I feel like I don't know why I waited so long. I think I started with home birth researching, and then I somehow ended back up at the hospital because I think I was just like got overwhelmed with all the midwives.
Mhm.
And I think I was like, well, if I was in the city, because we had moved at this time, we were now in the North Bay. And I was saying, if I was still in the city, I would have just gone back with the woman I had hired, right? Even though I didn't really get a home birth with her, but I felt like I had a relationship, right?
Yeah.
And so then I started looking up north and I just felt like this overwhelming part. And then I just went back to the hospital and I just kind of went back to just, you know, doing all my prenatal checks and getting all that stuff done. And then slowly, I just realized this is not where I want to be. This
Mhm.
is like, I don't, you know, I'm not really loving this care. I don't feel, you know, you're in and out. And besides that, I just didn't feel like I agreed with some of the things that were being pushed on me at the time. And there was no room for kind of like, you know, open discussion or just kind of like, it was just kind of like, well, this is the right thing and you should do it versus like, you know, well, it's up to you. And here's the 2 options, you know what I mean? And you choose what's right for, you know, you and your body, you know, more medical freedom in that sense. And so I think that kind of was a good push to go back towards the midwifery. And by then, I think I had been looking at it, but again, feeling overwhelmed. Eventually, I just push came to shove, and I was like, no, I'm doing this. I'm doing a home birth. And so then I think I reached out to Leah, um, I don't even know, maybe 2 or 3 months before Asa was to be born, and so I think we connected, and I met you and her maybe a month before Asa was born. Like, I don't know. I feel like it was, yeah, around, like, Christmas, when we met, or maybe one of our last visits, and then he was born.
Mhm.
But I am just so thankful, I'm, like, so thankful that I reached out and Leah had room, and you guys were a team and came over to my home, and I was just like, okay, this feels right. I wish. And then at that time, after I'd met you guys, I was just like, man, what a waste of time. Like, I should have just been doing this from the beginning. So so here we are. And then, couple months later, Asa was born. And it was a beautiful, beautiful home birth.
Yeah. Well,
So yeah.
take us to his labor. What was that like?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Ace's labor was a little different than Astrid, I will say. I like to stay in denial as long as possible. That is a reoccurring theme with all babies. I encourage it to anyone. At least it's my like tactic to stay, in the game, I guess, just kind of getting through the labor.
Yeah. Well, and it makes it not feel like it's so long and drags out so long too,
Yes.
you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just like, it's just the beginning. Like, I could be going for another day or two with this. So just, breathe. And so Ace's birth, I mean, yeah, Ace's birth started out a little bit in the morning, some contractions here and there. And then by that afternoon, I ended up, we have like the kids' bathroom, we call it, and I pretty much labored in there the entire time.
On the toilet again, your favorite
Yeah, well, I was standing up, like
spot?
leaning over, the vanity.
Uh-huh.
I think I was like in our room a little bit. Chad took one child at the time, Astrid, out to go grocery shop. We tend to always go grocery shopping the day of. Like the day I had Astrid,
Well,
we
you're
ordered
like,
groceries.
we're not going to be doing a lot for a while.
Yeah.
Hunker down.
Yeah, no, it worked out. I was like, this might be the day and we have no food. Like, go get a bunch of food. And that's funny. Astrid's story, I ordered and we had a bunch of food delivered that day. This story, Chad went out with Astrid and got a bunch of food. And so he did that. I stayed home. And actually that morning, Astrid and I made muffins and, I was just kind of laboring contractions through it. But again, I was like, they were very sporadic. So I didn't know if it was just the beginning, could be days later. Um, and then they left. They went grocery shopping. I stayed home, laid down, actually took a shower, put on my worship music, and then I laid down and they came home. And then at that point, I was like, ooh, this is getting a little bit more serious. Like, I don't think I can be, taking care of Astrid at this point. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, ooh, this is like mommy's hurting a little bit. I'm going to lay down and shut my eyes. And so then I went to the room and I don't know exactly when I contacted. I think when I actually went to the bathroom and started um, keeping track of them, at that point I downloaded some like app to record your contractions. And then I maybe reached out to Leah. I don't remember. Maybe it was later. Actually, no, that morning I did reach out to her. But anyways, and so yeah, so I really labored. But Ace's labor, I would say, is different. Astrid's laboring. I stayed really quiet and inward. And I did take we did like a breathing class for that, the hypnobirthing class for Astrid. I did that and I was thankful for that. I did use a lot of like the stuff for her labor and tips and tricks. And then for Ace's birth, I didn't prepare at all. I was like, I got this, but
I've done it.
I don't know if I had it. I don't know if and I was just very loud. I just had to be louder than the contractions for Ace's birth. And so it was a very loud, just kind of laboring through that with my voice. And as long as I was louder than the contraction, I didn't feel it. And so that was his. And then, and again, I did reach out to Leah that morning and I forget, I don't remember if you had been sick or something. Because you were gonna.
It was the first time I had COVID.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was feeling horrible. And
Yes. Yeah, no, it was not.
it.
Yeah, it was not the time to come out.
No.
So I remember Leah saying like, Sophia can't make it. Are you okay if it's, maybe me and Nina, or I can reach out to another midwife or whatever. And I think I was like, yeah, sure. If there's another midwife you want to bring, if not, like, I'm fine with you and Nina coming. And so it ended up being her and Nina that got here. And I think they got here, 20 minutes before I pushed and had Asa. So it was great. So, um, and I was, yeah, laboring in that bathroom. And then, I think at that point, my mom and Chad like maybe called Leah, be like, okay, this is serious, or, I don't even really know how it all went down because I was just laboring. I think I was texting to Leah, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm throwing up. And usually when I'm throwing, like I start to throw up and then I go sit on the toilet and clear everything out.
Uh-huh.
Usually that's my transition. And that's usually not long before I'm going to be pushing and the baby's going to be here.
Uh-huh.
And so I think she hustled over from Fairfax. And
I love how it's only your second birth, but you're still like,
yeah.
this is how I do it. Like, I know.
Yes.
Yeah, you're like
Yes.
still like, so in it and like aware of at what stage you're at. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely. Astrid's was the same way. Like I did that. And then it was like, oh yeah, we need to go to the hospital. Like I feel heavy. I think I might be pushing soon. And Asa was the same way. Like I throw up and I'm on the toilet clearing everything out. And I think Leah got here somewhere in between there. And then was like, when you're ready, you can move to the tub. It's ready. And I was like, okay, I'll be there like in a minute. Like, let me finish. Um, and then probably 10 minutes later, I moved to the water and then pushed him out. And I would say Asa's pushing.
When did your water break?
That's a good, yes. So with Asa, my water broke again when I was pushing. But
In the
Leah
tub?
didn't put when I was pushing. Oh,
Like
sorry.
in the tub it broke?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, in the tub. Yes, yeah, it was kind of like we
Yeah.
could feel it. And then yeah, and then he came a few more pushes later. But I do remember one push. I think his shoulders must have been sitting in the opening, and I was just like, I can go if I can do this. And so there was a lot more pain than I thought I could take at that point.
Yeah. So
But one more push, and I was like, he's coming out.
Yeah.
And yeah, and Leah was just so calm and quiet, and just kind of like sitting there, and it was just like a very just quiet, calm birth. And yeah, and I think he came out and she was like, Chad like reached out and grabbed your son or whatever, and Chad grabbed him and brought him up, which was so special. And then he was here and he looked like a little Astrid. So yeah, it was cute.
Little twinsies.
Yes, they are.
What about immediately postpartum? Like anything to mention about the birth of the placenta or bleeding or breastfeeding?
Yes. I would say I stayed in the tub a long time, um, thinking that I was going to birth, like I was going to have the placenta, push out the placenta at that point. But it took a long time for the placenta to come that time. And I don't know the reasoning. You might have better input. But so I stayed, I think I even stayed about 45 minutes,
Well, the
maybe.
hospital, I mean, I wasn't at either birth, so I can only
Yeah.
speak relatively,
Yes.
but the hospital, they have like this time frame where they got to get it out, so they're like, it's called like active management. And
Okay.
Leah probably wouldn't have done that. So they
Yeah.
just sometimes naturally take a little bit longer because
Yeah.
we're a little bit more patient with them.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And it did. I think I was getting impatient. I was just like, okay, I want to get this. Oh, so my cord it's also like very short. So I had like Asa, and I like whenever I pulled him to come up closer, to my face or a little bit higher up out of the water, it was like pulling on that cord. And so I was just like, oh man, I want to get this placenta out.
Just be done.
Yes. Yeah. I was like, I'm just ready to be done. And it was, it's such a beautiful relief once that baby's out already too. But yes, I think the cord from him to the placenta was my biggest kind of like, okay, let's get this out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I eventually got out of the water and then went on the bed. And eventually, I think with Leah's help, it pushed it out and she pulled it out and yeah.
Beautiful.
And so that's how that one came out.
Yeah, and your bleeding was fine.
Yes. Yeah. The bleeding was fine. Not too much bleeding even postpartum with Asa. At that point, I didn't mention with Astrid, I got mastitis. And so, with Asa, I was more aware of it. I know I'm jumping from right to birth to mastitis, but it wasn't too much longer. Maybe about 2 weeks after I had had him, I got mastitis again with him, and I can go into that. But right after having him, I think no, the bleeding was relatively light. It wasn't too bad, and everything was
Yeah,
everything
will
was
you
fine.
speak to the mastitis just for anyone who's even
Yes,
dealing with it or like just wants to do anything preventatively because they're worried
yes,
about it? What helps?
yeah, yeah. Well, you're definitely more the expert, but I will say for me, I do believe I got it because again, I did too much. Like I had Astrid, I had my 2-year-old, or I guess she was almost three, maybe at 3 at this point, and I had, my new baby, and I was spending so much time with Asa, which I was loving. I was in, my bed with him, but I felt like I was really no one had told me how much like I was gonna miss because I was always me and Astrid one-on-one. And I felt really, like, sad about that,
Mhm.
and so I would, like, go in the shower with her, and I'd take showers with her, but then I'd pick her up, and I was picking up this 3-year-old, or other times I was picking her up, and so I think I just completely overdid it, and I did too much, and then the mastitis came on, and this time it came on really bad,
Mhm.
and I I definitely reached out to you, and you gave me a protocol back in the day, and I know things have, like, changed or, people are talking about it, but with that, it was really like rest. So I think it came on because I did too much. And then what I did to help um recover from it and not take, antibiotics was I really rested. Thankfully I had my parents next door. And so my mom was able to come and help hold him. Asa at the time for me so I could sleep. Her and Chad would take turns. And so I rested a lot. I took, magnesium baths. I what is it called? You like keep pushing the milk out,
Right?
expressing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like just in the hot bath, just kind of kept
Yeah.
rubbing out
I can't
those
express
red
that.
spots.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, all of that pain. I just kind of had to push through the pain. It's so painful.
Mhm.
And I would eat like raw, I would eat raw garlic and then the sunflower. I always mess up the name.
Lesson. Mhm.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I'm
Mhm.
not even gonna try because I always say the wrong word. And then I did the happy ducks.
Mhm.
And so I think like you or Leah was like, go get those. So Chad, ran around. And I think at the time we had Pharmaca here and he found it there. And so I did the happy ducks and that. And then it took about 2 weeks, but it did go away. So I would say for anyone, like any girlfriends that got pregnant and were getting close to birth, I would always like send them that protocol you had sent me. And then like with it, I tell them like the 5 things I really did,
Mhm.
which was, rest, the sunflower, lithium, the happy ducks. I did like the raw garlic and then lots and lots of water, like, and lots of just fluids. And so those things I did and just don't overdo it. Just like stay in bed and rest.
Stay bad.
And I definitely took that into my next birth. That was my biggest takeaway because I was like, I just never want that again. It was so bad.
Mhm.
So for any women, listening, that would be my encouragement would be really like listening to your body and resting because I know the world tells us to, you can do it all and we can do it all, but really like planning ahead and
Well, and especially if you have these really empowering births, you
yeah,
feel like you did do it all and you're
that's true.
superwoman and like
Yeah.
so then you are busy and
Yes.
like
Yeah,
bouncing
no,
back.
you're right. Yeah, and I didn't feel bad. I feel lucky for that. I like after both births, you're right. Like I had these Astrid's birth was my first birth high and I was like this is amazing. Like everybody needs to experience this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Aces as well. Like it came and you're right. Like I felt good. Like I could get up and walk around, And so I felt like I could do, anything and everything. And even though you feel like it, you have to like stop and be like, even though I can, like I shouldn't.
We're like superwomen need rest too.
Yes, it's true. Yes, everybody needs
For rest.
rest.
Yes.
Yeah, and even for, with Asa later, after Asa's birth, I later dealt with some pelvic floor stuff that I felt like nobody had, really talked about.
Mhm.
Or I wasn't, as aware. And so I became more aware of the pelvic floor and I, went and got pelvic floor help later before Asher's pregnancy, and even in it. And I think that was also from doing too much, and
Yeah,
not letting my body.
there's a saying about like 40 days of rest for 40 years of health, like
Yeah.
the rest you do
Yeah.
now will set you up for, yeah, pelvic floor health the rest of your life.
Exactly. Exactly. And so I did not do that. And so I did do I did deal with the pelvic floor, and I'm still dealing with it, even though, I know what I should be doing for that. But I was definitely took those two learning things and took that into my next pregnancy and birth. And
Well,
so,
take us to that next pregnancy. How
yes.
third baby
Yeah.
to be.
I know. So next pregnancy rolls around. I'm like, so July, I'm like, I'm not, maybe late July. I'm like, I'm not feeling very well. Where's my period? And so I'm staying in denial, right? But I'm like, okay, I'm getting that pregnancy test. So somewhere in August, I got it, and I'm pregnant. And I wasn't expecting it, but it was beautiful and it was great. And it wasn't as planned as Asa's, but we all know what makes babies get here. So in a way, it was planned. And yeah, so Asher's birth was kind of the same. I had that morning sickness, and then eventually I felt okay. I was definitely more tired. Definitely was not a princess pregnancy. I was just tired. And his pregnancy, I feel like I didn't fully enjoy until the very end. It's like a point where you're like a month out from labor and you finally like, I'm not ready to, like, I'm actually enjoying this pregnancy.
Yeah.
And I could have like kept, being pregnant for a little bit longer. And so, yeah, it was, I mean, kind of like the same as the other kids. Binus, I will add, this one I dealt with grief. Like, I don't know, how many months was I? Maybe 5 months pregnant with Asher when my dad passed away.
Mhm.
And so that was the biggest change I would add in there for anyone else listening that, deals with grief or, is dealing with grief in a pregnancy or even, postpartum.
Mhm.
um we that was definitely a lot. And I did feel.
And like he lived on the property with you, so
Yes, yeah, I know, I didn't even get to add that. I was gonna say that earlier about Asa's birth. Yeah, so my parents live here with us. We have a little granny unit, and with, if I backtrack to Ace's birth, my poor dad, because like I said, it was my loudest labor, and my poor dad felt so, I learned this later. He felt so bad for me. Like he could hear every like moan and yell. Cause like I said, I did not stay in my head. I was very loud. And my poor father was like, oh, like he wanted to do something to help. And my mom's like, she's fine. She's fine. Um, but yes. So going like back to Asher's birth, when my dad passed away, it was hard. My parents had moved out here, in 2020, and we all moved pretty much to the property about, within months of each other. And so we had all been living together for almost 4 years. And so it was a huge change. And it was very sad and overwhelming and a big, big loss. And so yes, so it was, having him here every day to not having him here was very, very hard. And I still get it's
because well,
still dealing with it.
you deal with your own grief, but then also,
Mhm.
they lost a grandpa and your mom lost
Yes.
a husband, and like everyone's
Yes.
having all these feelings together.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Everybody. It was a lot. And it still is at times. Yeah. It was very sad for Astrid and Asa. They would go around and be like, Papa, Papa, and Asa was little. He was, I think, a year and a half.
Yeah.
And he's like, where, Papa, Papa, where's Papa? And so,
How do you explain that? Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. We're like, well, he's in heaven. Papa's in heaven. We'll get to see him one day.
Mhm.
And so now they say Papa in heaven. Now he says Papa in heaven, and we're like, yeah. And so with that, I was talking about this with my mom, and when I was pregnant with Asa, I mean Asher, sorry. Asher, I just like, you're so sad. You're like, what is this baby gonna be like? Right? Because this poor baby, like there's so much grief and sadness and just like heaviness in this poor little guy's pregnancy. But I will say that he's like just the most joyful little baby. He's just happy, brings everyone joy, of course. But he really is. He's just my smiley baby. Like,
Glad
my
you
other.
mentioned that because there are women who feel like grief for whatever reason in their pregnancy and worry that it's
Mhm.
going to affect the baby in a negative way. And so,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah, no, that's kind of what I thought too. I was just like, "Oh my goodness, this poor little baby. At the time, I didn't even know if it was a boy or girl when my dad died. And I think I went and saw Leah for one of my appointments, and I was like, my dad's in the hospital, but he's gonna be okay. And we thought he was coming home, but then like 2 days later, I was like texting her that he had died, and I'm having these contractions, and is that okay?
Mhm.
And so thankfully, those contractions did stop. I had some, Braxton Hicks, but I was getting a little worried with that, and they did subside, luckily. So, but yeah.
Well, and I got to spend more time with you in your pregnancy because Leah and I had officially joined a group practice together.
Yes, 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 which was great. Yeah, I got to come up to Petaluma.
Yeah. So anything else to mention in your pregnancy before we dive into his birth story?
Yes. I think that's kind of it. That was just the biggest takeaway from his pregnancy.
Mhm.
I don't know if you do remember anything, maybe.
Yeah, I was going through the chart. I think, yeah,
Yeah.
it's just kind of minor.
Yeah, I don't think there was anything major.
Will you speak on being a negative and rogam just in general and your relationship with like that information and decision making?
Yes. Yeah, that's fine. Yes. I know. I always forget. I'm like, I'm the negative blood. And so yeah, so the program for each baby, um, it became a thing. But I will say with Asher, I decided to do nothing. And I'm thankful for that. I feel comfortable with that decision. With Asher the first, I didn't really know anything. And they were like, if you want, more babies, it's safer to get more the shot. And so I did do that with Astrid. With Asa, um, and Astrid ended up being a negative blood. And I think we're the same blood, so I didn't need it. But with Asa, um, oh no, that's Asa, sorry. And then with Asa, I did, because remember I started in the Western, not Western, but I just started with our doctor here locally. And I kind of felt a little pressured into that one a little bit. I was saying no, no, no. I kept pushing it. And then I did go and get that one, and then I kind of regretted it, but it is what it is. I got it.
Mhm.
And then with Asher, as I also feel like he's probably our last baby.
Mhm.
One of the reasons I didn't, and then also, we can go in the statistics and stuff and the chances of the things happening. And again, I just felt more confident, like, no, I'm not doing it. And I felt like I didn't get like the pressure, it's like, it's your decision. Here are the two options.
Yeah.
And that's what's so great about you and Leah. It's like, here are the options. You decide.
Mhm.
And so with Ace, I wish I would have joined a little earlier because I would have had that. But anyway, so that was my decision process, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Okay, well, take us to his birth,
Yeah.
his labor.
I know. What's Asher? I'm
Hilarious.
like, you have my most recent. I'm like, what
I
happened?
I
Oh,
know,
this
I just
birth.
pulled up your chart and it is
Yes.
telling me how many hours it's been since your water broke. Would you
Yes.
like
Oh,
to
that's
know?
right. Yes. Yes. I'm like, what happened? Thank you. You just reminded me.
No, I mean to today. It's been
Oh,
3,592 hours since your water broke.
that's awesome. I
The
love that.
timer is still going.
It's still going. That's so great.
That's funny. Yeah, so what do you remember from your
Yes. Yeah. Fill in the gaps for me. With Asher's birth, his was different than the rest in the sense that my water actually broke. The other two, it did not. And and so it was more of like a trickle. And so I was like bathing the kids and my water broke. And at the time I was like, what? Like I just literally peed myself. That's pretty much what I thought happened. I was like, this is a whole new level of pregnancy for me. That's literally what those were my thoughts. And so I got dressed and then I
Yeah, I have
changed.
a note that says client smelled her pants in case it was pee.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And I didn't reach out yet because I'm like, I just literally peed myself. And so and then it happened again. And I'm like, what? It happened again? And then I'm like, I just peed myself again. And then I'm changing and I'm like, wait a minute. No. Like, no. And no, I did not just do that. And then it was trickling out a little bit later. And that at this point, I'm like reaching out to you. and I'm texting you. And I don't even know what I probably said at the time. Like, is this my water breaking? Probably. Because when you think of water breaking, at least for me, I just think of like a gush because I had never experienced it besides pushing, and when it just broke. And so then I think in my test kit you guys brought over, they were
Like a little
was that like
swab.
the swab, you told me to swab it, right? And then I forget the coloring, if it's blue.
Yeah, blue is your water's opened. Yeah.
Yes, yes, and it was blue, so everything was good. And I was like, okay, oh, my water broke. All right, things are moving. And so it was like, bedtime, getting the kids ready, finishing up dinner, putting the kids to bed. I chatted with you on the phone and kind of went over, things to keep an eye out for. And if you remember anything, you're welcome to add it in there.
Yeah, I think we were mainly deciding like, should we head down now to avoid like
Mm.
rushing once we get there because of the history of
Yes,
you
yes,
giving birth so quickly after
yes,
somebody arrives? Or
yes,
should we wait until the intensity picks up? Because you were like, it's still really mild. And you were like,
yes.
let's just wait until the next like level of intensity.
Yes, you're right. Thank you. Yes, you're right. You're right. Because the contractions weren't really like fully there. It was just off and on. And so we waited. And so at this point, I think, I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to get some rest. I'm going to lay down and get some rest. And so I went and lay down. And then I'm laying down and I'm thinking of all the things like, well, if I do go into labor, like I don't have any of this stuff ready. Right. And so then I text my mom because again, my parents, now my mom still lives here with us. And I'm like, Mom, can you come over and make my bed? Can you put like, the thing down and the sheets in case? And so she did that. And I just laid down in our guest bedroom and laid there and rested and just thinking about all the things that needed to get done. And then at that point, Chad started filling up the tub, just getting it ready, like just blow it up just in case, get it ready. We put a little tarp down, we have like our little stuff set up.
Yeah.
And so Chad started getting that stuff ready. Um, and then I don't even know what I was doing at that point. And then at a certain point, I eventually moved back into my room. I think my mom came in and told me the bed was made. So I move into there. And then I think I reached out to you another time. Like, I think I was giving you a heads up. I was like, well, she's going to probably go to sleep. I don't want to bother her, but I should bother her. Like, just let her know. Cause like, I felt like I didn't want to wait too long this time, but at the same time, I didn't want to have you guys come too early. So I was kind of like in this little predicament. And
Yeah. Well,
what do your notes say?
newsflash, we were only there for like maybe a half hour.
Yes. Yeah. You guys made it. You made it.
And there's a note that says that when we
Yeah.
got there, you were still saying, you guys can sleep in this extra bed. I think maybe you came too soon. You gave birth like a half hour later.
Nice. So exactly. I'm telling you, ladies, stay in denial as long as possible. It really helps. And so yes. So there were a few times I think I was debating with Chad, like before I had reached out the second time. I was like, should I reach out? No, it's fine. It's fine. Like I hadn't hit transition. Once I hit transition, I'm like, oh yeah, like you call her and tell her right now, right? But before I'm just like, I don't know how long this is gonna last.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, but at a certain point, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to rest unless I know she kind of knows how far along. So then eventually I did call you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at that point, we decided maybe reach out one more time. I think it was maybe call because I think you were like, well, we can come out right now. It sounds like we can. And I was like, oh, no, I'll reach out one more time or something like that. And so we talked, we chatted. And then I think,
I'm trying to remember, but I think I might have said something like, we will slowly head your way.
yes,
And
I think,
if you think we should speed up, then come
yes.
back and like tell us we should hurry, but we'll just like slowly start to
Yes.
mosey on down.
You're right. You're right. Yeah, thank you. Yes, that is what you said. And I think within 5 minutes of calling you, I think I was calling you again.
Yeah.
Or maybe 10 minutes. Like it was
Yeah.
like, okay, they're gonna go slow. Okay, cool. I can rest. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh no, like this is real. Think like let's just let them know like I'm actually in labor.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we called you, I think, within 10 minutes of that phone call and was like, oh, yeah, no, maybe you might want to go a little bit faster than. And then you guys got here and I'm trying to think where I was when I think I was on the bed. But this labor, and I did go into transition. I did the throwing up and clearing out on the toilet.
Mhm.
And then I went back and sat on my bed. And I will say Asher's labor, again, I was a lot more quieter. I tried to stay a little bit more inward because I just knew with Asa's once I got louder, it wasn't going to go back in. And so, I mean, it did come out, but I did stay a little bit quieter with his birth. Um, and so, yeah, so you guys got here with Clarissa and Allie, and I think they came in and checked me, and then were like, you can get into the tub. And
Like, just to clarify, not a vaginal
yes.
exam, but just like checked on you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think she, I think they listened to the baby, like asked, like listening to, and I was like, oh yes, please. Like, let's hear his heartbeat.
Yeah.
And I remember like saying that in our prenatal like visits, like, yeah, like I know I would like to hear his heartbeat during labor. That would make me, feel comfortable and like feel like things are going well. And so, yeah, I don't,
He was really low and contractions were like on top of each other. And you're still
yes.
trying to make sure we know where the guest bedroom is.
Yes.
We're like,
Yeah.
wait, what? You're having a baby.
I'm like, oh, it's over there if you need to sleep. Like, I know it's like 3 a.m. in the morning or whatever. I don't actually, no, I had him about 1 a.m., I think, a little after 12. But yeah, no, it was late. I'd woke you guys up out of bed. I'm like, they could go back to sleep.
The moms who are in labor, but still trying to host to make sure everyone's
Yes.
okay.
Yeah. I'm like, do you guys have water or snack? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so we got in the water and then I don't know how many pushes, but he eventually came. And I remember once he
Well,
did
our
come.
notes say
Yes.
pushing lasted for 2 minutes. So
Okay. Oh, that's right. Okay. So it's here pretty quick. And I will say my kid slept in the next bedroom. So we had our tub set up in our bedroom, Chad in my bedroom, and right next to our bedroom is where Astrid and Asa sleep together. And so and they slept through the whole process, which was a miracle. And so, yeah, so tub like apparently was 2 pushes or 2 minutes and he was here. There, it's all a blur. It's all a blur. And I will not forget though when he's here and I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? He's just like floating in the water. And Sophia, you were just like so calm, like, well, like gently pick him up or like whatever like you say was just like when you're ready, like, or start moving towards him. You'll probably like start moving towards him, but like, gently pick him up.
We like to remind people that your baby has literally been in water their entire life. Their
Yes.
lungs are filled with fluid. They're not going to drown the second they come out in the birth
Yes.
tub.
Yes.
Obviously don't leave them down there, but
Yes.
like
Yes.
have a second, catch your breath, and then pick your baby up. You
Pick your baby
don't
up.
have
Yeah.
to like freak out like baby's in the tub. Like,
Yes.
yeah, just pick 'em up.
Yeah. And that's exactly what you were saying at that time. It was just so like, oh, okay, I'll take a breath and I'm going to pick him up and enjoy this moment.
Yeah.
And it was really special. And I'll never forget that picking up Asher and pulling him up. And again, short umbilical cord from me to placenta. Not the most comfortable, but yeah, holding him and my first reaction was like, "Wow, this baby's a redhead," um, and doesn't look like the other two. And so yeah, and that was Asher's birth, and it was quick and wonderful and beautiful. And you and Clarissa and Allie were the 3 team there, and it was really special. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it was honor to witness. What
Yeah.
about and just hardly any blood loss. I'm looking and we wrote like 50 cc. I think that was just so we could write a number down, which is like nothing. But tell us anything about breastfeeding and like mastitis and how was your postpartum?
Yes. Yeah. The postpartum was great. The one thing I'll add that was different in this birth really quick was the placenta. About pushing the placenta out. I don't know how long it took, but not as long as the other two. And again, I remember you saying like, if it feels like, with a contraction, if push it out and like a gentle like pull. And I remember how you explained like the shape of how it was gonna feel. And it was exactly like that. And so thank you for that. It was like comforting. And yeah, so I
There's
just
like some funneling into the vagina. So there is
Mhm.
this like feeling of heaviness, but also resistance if you are to pull the
Yes.
cord, where it's like, no, it's not stuck or not ready. It's just like got a funnel into the vagina. So there is
Yeah.
this feeling of fullness and resistance.
Yeah, and that's exactly kinda how it felt. It was just like Yeah. And so pushing and kind of pulled that out. And that was really cool too, because I hadn't done that with my other two. And
Yeah.
so I won't forget that either.
Yeah.
That was really, really neat. Just kind of
Yeah.
doing the placenta like solo.
Yeah, like catch
Yeah.
your own baby, deliver your own placenta. Like our goal
Yes.
is that when people invite us to their births, it's because they want us there, not because they feel they need us. Like we really
Yeah.
want to show families like
You
you
don't.
kind like we like supported and witnessed, but like you did all that, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which was great. Yes. Yes. And I appreciate it. And I mean, for me, I was like, I couldn't have done it without you though. I needed you there. I needed like the assurance that you were there. I'm like, is this what's supposed to be going on? Like, is
Yeah.
this okay?
Yeah.
And for me, like having you there for that birth and, previously, like, Ace's birth with Leah, like having you guys as that team was just, I just felt like it was just so at peace. I just knew like and comforted knowing that I was like in good hands with good care. You guys know what to do if there was ever emergencies. And, I had asked any questions and that gave me that peace on that side of, the fear of home birth.
Mhm. The what
And
if. Mhm.
yes, the what ifs and you guys would answer those. And that was like, just like voicing those, I think is so important, and like and bouncing those off of you guys and then hearing what you had to say, gives you that confidence into, I'm in confident hands. And so for me, yes, like it lets me relax to birth, knowing that I have the confident in, the team that's helping care for me.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um,
That
so
someone's got a watchful eye, you know?
yes, exactly, exactly. I just get to be present, like in the birth, and I know that Sophia was watching me and taking care of me, and my baby during that
Yeah.
process.
Mhm.
So, so yeah, that's very important because then the mommy can just relax,
Yeah.
and that helps you birth.
Yeah. You don't feel like you have to midwife yourself and
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
let
yeah,
go.
yeah, yeah. Just let go. But yeah, his postpartum, let's see, everything. So like I said, um, building up to it, he was just like, I was just most prepared for his postpartum. That was probably my biggest thing for Asher's birth was I knew I needed a little bit more care. So A, I knew I needed to stay in bed and, not shower and pick up my other two children, shower, yes, but not shower with them and pick them up, or, take baths. But, and so this one, I really gave myself like the room and like, what's the right word? Like, allowed myself, to feel comfortable with staying in bed and knowing that like it's okay, like it's good for you.
Mhm.
And and thankfully like I had, Chad and my mom around me that were encouraging of that and helped take care of me. And then I hired um some postpartum doulas, and I know you guys are still with Clarissa and her and Emma. And they helped come in 2 weeks after I had Asher. And so that was just I'm just so thankful for that postpartum care that I had and that I planned for. And that like truly allowed myself that 40-day period of just resting and eating warm food. And everyone just really took care of me.
Mm.
Um,
And it's great that you say that you planned for because for most people, it doesn't just fall into your lap. And
no.
for most women, they wish they had planned more for postpartum because you spend so much time focusing on the pregnancy and the birth
Hmm.
that you can kind of not plan very well for postpartum and wish you had.
Yes,
And
exactly.
we only get X number of postpartum experiences. And so
Yes,
most women are in your situation where they keep building on it each time. Oh, like, how could I do better? How could I do better?
yes,
You know? So I
yes,
think that's why these stories are so important because a first time mom could be listening and being like,
yes.
oh, I really need to plan this and prioritize this so that I don't wish I had when I get to my third, you know?
Yes. Yes, definitely. And that is what I would encourage. Like if I could encourage anything to take away, it would be get a great team midwife, like do the home birth, like, get Sophia and Leah on your team. They're amazing. And you don't have to worry about a thing. And you just get to be in your labor and with you and your baby and, and get to focus in on that and relax, 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 relax. But then B, it's postpartum. And like you said, I've had 3 now, and with my third, I finally figured it out, Like, if only I was gonna have more, it would be great. But with my first, if I could go back, like I would have planned more
Yeah.
Well, first was, um but yes, yeah, first, really like taking the time, and I know not everybody can afford, postpartum doulas, but, if you can plan like family or friends to come over and, bring you meals, or even just the biggest thing would just be even like making food, warm food ahead of time. And I did the warm food. I think it was really helpful. We did a bunch of soups, and then with our postpartum doulas, it was less about holding like Asher all the time. It was more like they came in and prepped food, and they did, switch the laundry for us and put it away.
The
And then got
idea
to
that
even
if
just,
your role stopped for a
yeah,
month,
yes,
it can't just go undone. Like,
yes,
you've got a house and a family to take care of. Who's gonna hold that load, Who's gonna
yes,
hold the weight of
exactly. Exactly. And that's what they did, which was awesome. It was
that?
great. And I was thankful he gets a good little paternity break too. So he just full on took the kids,
Mhm.
and I was, with Asher, and then the postpartum team came in and picked up wherever we needed some extra hands.
Yeah,
And then
that's
again, we have Gigi. So it's like we had like full hands on
that's
deck,
great.
and, we still could have used probably an
Yeah,
extra hand. So planning ahead is just like, the more you have prepared and ready, the better off you are. Like,
yeah.
um,
Sometimes I'll even
making,
suggest that the last month of pregnancy where I'm like,
Mhm.
start handing over your responsibilities to other
Yes,
people, to
yes,
so ideally by the time you give birth, there are no more responsibilities on your plate.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That makes total sense. Yes,
yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
So yeah, that was
And
the postpartum.
everyone wants to know, did you get mastitis?
And a good question. I did not. I saw a red, circle, the warm red spot, which is like a sign that's coming on. And right then I just started doing a little protocol of, the sunflower.
Let
I'm
this
gonna let you say it. And I think I held off on the happy ducks, but I started doing that and eating some raw garlic and just really taking warm baths and rubbing out that spot. And then I kicked it, thankfully. And so I did not get full blown mastitis.
Yay.
So yay, yes. By the third one, I finally figured it out.
Well, now you're a pro, you can't stop now.
I, I know. I'm tempted, but I'm not.
It's a
I'm
lot.
tempted and then not tempted.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much for sharing your journeys and what your, suggestions are for anyone listening who
Mhm.
is in their pregnancy stage right now and hoping to make it the best they can.
Yes, yes, definitely. I hopefully found something that was helpful to, anyone in their first, second, or third pregnancy.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Sophia.
Thanks everybody for listening. You can find us at Born Wild Podcast on Instagram. For inquiries or feedback, you can email us at bornwildpodcast@gmail.com. You can find me, Emma Ray, on Instagram at Emma Ray, REA.
Sophia at sophiabirth.com. And me, Leah, at Bay Area Homebirth.
We would really appreciate it if you would rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. It helps us reach more people. And as always,
Stay wild.